Multi-TC bases are a great way of building huge bases while keeping the upkeep manageable. I promised you to work towards a new multi-TC base design, and here it is. Meet the Trident. A group base formed out of 3 different parts, which together form a formidably open living space. The parts are maintained by 3 fortified external bases, which double as capable flanking bases. The main base contains up to 6 Frustrator-type loot chutes. To raid all of these, I estimate a minimum raid cost of 50 to 60 rockets. If they want to grief the base, another 60 rockets are required. So even a close to ideal offline full raid may easily cost 120 rockets. At the same time, the total upkeep is around 14k stone, 11k metal fragments and less than 100 high qual across all TCs, which can easily be maintained by an active group. At this level of cost and protection, the base is also suited for modded servers, something you guys kept asking me about. The design carefully takes care that the cracks between the base parts, an inevitable part of every multi-TC design, expose you as little as possible, and ideally the design allows you to use them as peek downs and shooting cracks. Please note this is an expert base design, thus I'll expect you to put your own spin on the design, such as the item placement or how to use the roof. Furthermore, I highly recommend you to practice it on a build server before building it in-game. As you can see, the base comes with a pre-designed compound. You enter the base through the doors at the bottom of one of the external bases. The external base itself is entered via this roof ramp. The second floor is your battlements area and has windows and an auto turret. The ground floor is reached via a chute. Here I'd suggest to keep items that allow you to counter raid, that is sleeping bags, gear sets and a bit of material. The TC is tucked away in the safest corner. Keep those windows closed at all times. Now let's head over to the main base. You enter through one of the 3 entrances on the ground. Note how these cracks allow you to spot and fight door campers. The second floor is the crafting and living space. This is where the 3 base parts converge. Each of the 3 parts has the same basic layout. The honeycomb is used for items such as boxes, furnaces, workbenches, etc. At the end of each part, we have the chute to the main loot room. It's a classic Frustrator type drop-down design that greets raiders with undrainable traps. On the side, we have another drop-down chute that leads to a similar loot room. In this case, it's another loot room, but it can also be used for other things, such as this bedroom over here. To reach the top floor, go back to the entrance and jump onto this half-height triangle. Up here we have a series of doors and windows that allow you to safely enter the roof. Note how those cracks allow you to engage enemy players below the base as well as on the roof. Even in this basic configuration, the roof features a mix of windows and peek downs, which allow you to engage raiders from many different angles. Please note how the cracks act as peek downs as well. In the case of a raid, they'd allow you to engage raiders who have entered the core of the base. You may have wondered about these towers. They actually serve a very important function. You enter them through those doors. Use the ladders to climb up to the very top. From here you have another angle for raid defense, but this is just the secondary function. primary feature of this tower is the TC in this compartment. It serves as external TC, meaning if one of the external bases gets raided and the TC destroyed, raiders still won't have building privilege. And there's even more than that. Have you noticed the missing foundation on the bottom? In case raiders destroy the TC of the external base to which this tower is connected, you can place a foundation into the gap. This will make this external TC on top of the tower take over the upkeep of the whole section of the base. In essence, these towers therefore counter cheap attempts of taking over parts of the base. This concludes the tour. Let's jump into the build. With each multi-TC base, claiming the area is the riskiest part, as you'll be exposed for a long time and the base vulnerable to griefing. I'd strongly recommend that you practice the build steps until all TCs are down on a build server, until you can do them from memory. The faster you can execute them, the more likely you are to be successful. First, find a suitable spot and verify that the base will fit the area. To do that, place a triangle in what is going to be the center of the base. Then check whether you can build out 10 squares in all 3 directions. The base itself will extend until about the 8th square. Upgrade the outer squares to wood so that they cannot be destroyed with a few hits by the bow. That whole step should cost about 2125 wood. For the next steps, assemble about 3k wood, 10k stone, 4 TCs plus logs, and 3 reinforced glass windows. Destroy the central triangle, then replace it. Now place a temporary TC onto it. Optionally enclose it in wood. You'll later have to destroy it, so leave at least the foundation wood. If you complete the footprint within 10 minutes, you can still do that with the demolish function of the hammer. We replaced that triangle to reset the timer. Destroy the twig square foundations. If you start at the wooden square and work yourself towards the TC, you should be able to use the demolish function of the hammer. Have your teammates help you so it goes faster. Next, head to each of the outer wooden squares and build back 4 half moons. Upgrade the last 2 triangles and add a third one like this. Destroy all the other twig triangles. Again, use the hammer where you can and have a teammate help you with the rest. Looking from the center, locate the left triangle and build out 3 squares. Add another triangle at the end, upgrade it and use it for the TC. Place the TC far back so that later you can reach and upgrade the foundation through the window frame. Repeat this step 2 more times until you got 3 external TCs. If you have spent less than 10 minutes on this, destroy the central TC with your hammer. If it took you longer, you need to destroy the foundation in a different way, for example by removing all materials from the TC and let its enclosure decay. Now that you have the external TCs in their exact positions, my recommendation would be to continue with the external TC bases next. This makes it harder to grief you, leaves your enemies unaware that a huge base is about to go up, and provides you with the basis of operations on site. Complete the footprint of the external base like this. 2 squares and a large triangle without tip. Surround everything with walls except for this triangle. These doors will become one of the exits of the compound. Build a slanted roof here in front of the TC to be able to get onto the second floor of the base. Use the space inside of the lower floor for items, such as a few boxes, sleeping bags, furnaces, and possibly even a workbench. This triangle will be the chute. Close off the opening above and below with a double door, or ideally a garage door. On the second floor, add door frames and double door frames where shown. Please note that you can close off this bit with double doors until you can afford the garage doors. Surround the rest of the outer perimeter with windows and add some kind of window bars such as metal embrasures. Upgrade the floor tiles right behind the single doors to armored. Finally, close off the ceiling. To turn the external bases from a starter unit into their final state, head back into the core. Please note that you can delay this step and proceed with the main base first if you desire. The wall behind the chute should be closed off with a full wall or at least a window frame with reinforced glass windows. For example, you can use it for a locker to quickly gear up in case of a raid. The same goes for this corner. It needs 4 rockets worth of protection minimum. You could, for example, place a vending machine there as extra loot storage. Remember to disable broadcasting though. Make sure that there are in total 3 reinforced glass windows between the TC and the garage door that leads into the chute. Use the space between the windows to place down sleeping bags, boxes, vending machines as loot storage, or furnaces. Please note that you can also use armored doors. They are less of a hassle to open and close, but they allow for less storage items. Finally, head back upstairs and place an auto turret into this triangle. They are placed strategically to cover large parts of the inside and outside of the compound. If you manage to get 3 turrets already, this will make the build of the main base significantly more secure. With the building spot claimed and the external bases in place, let's turn towards the main base. From each of the 2 squares, build out 2 more squares and leave them twig. Add 3 triangles, then 2 squares. Then build triangles on the side like this. 3 on the left, 2 on the right, and a tip for the future base entrance like this. Replace the twig square foundation with foundation steps that disappear below ground. To build the first floor, have a ladder on you in case you fall into the honeycomb. Start with a triangle airlock on each of the tips. Then build a whole layer of stone walls around the base. In these triangles, embed floor tiles at half height. They will later allow to easily build and rebuild the main loot room. Close them off with sheet metal walls. Then build the walls around the main loot room, which will be a frustrator drop-down design. Close off the entrance with a stone wall. Then build another loot room behind the main loot room. Repeat these steps for the 2 other parts of the base. Depending on how much material your group is willing to farm, feel free to upgrade all the outer walls to sheet metal and all the walls around the loot rooms, including the chutes, to armored. Here, I'll just use armored for the walls around the main loot room as well as the floor tile above both squares. And I'll use sheet metal otherwise. Make sure to leave those 3 spots in the ceiling open. They'll be the chutes. Place 1 ladder into each of them, which makes it a total of 9. To finish this build stage, close off the base's center triangle. Now let's work on the second floor. Place windows above the inner side of the airlock triangles and stone walls all around the outer perimeter. secure the airlocks, place a wall here, a sheet metal floor tile at half height, and a garage door. Behind the garage door, add a double door opening outwards. Use this crack in the wall to fight door campers. Remember, if you have trouble jumping out of these chutes, practice your crouch jump and enter input auto crouch true in the console. Complete the other two airlocks, then build the entrances to the chutes. 2 walls and 1 half-height triangle. You now got these single and double triangles. Use them however you like. For example, this section is for crafting. It contains the tier 3 workbench and uses the extra space for easy to access boxes for the crafting materials. This section has tons of furnaces for smelting. This section contains lockers and beds. Close off the ceiling. Apart from the honeycomb of the chutes, I recommend to use sheet metal. If you wish to extend the base further upwards, leave the floor tiles above these exits in a material that you are comfortable soft side destroying. But remember, these are just suggestions, make the base your own. Next, let's turn towards the main loot rooms. We use the tried and tested frustrator design. Start with 2 large and 3 small boxes. Two shotgun traps go against the wall in about the middle of the loot room. Make them point a bit upwards and test that you can reach them. Place in the half-height floor tile. Attach a shotgun trap to the center of the ceiling. Then add 2 large and 2 small boxes. If you want even more security, swap out the small boxes with shotgun traps pointing downwards like this. There are 2 options to close down the loot room. The standard option are reinforced glass windows. However, you can also use armored single or double doors. The advantage of armored doors is that it's easier to have them closed at all times, which might save the day if you're surprised by a raid. For the secondary loot rooms, use them however you like. For example, turn them into another frustrator loot room or use them as bedrooms, depending on your needs. Optionally, place turret compartments above the exits. Remember that turrets might soon require electricity. Next, we're going to improve the security of the base by adding external TCs and creating a compound. One risk of multi-TC bases is that raiders might take over one of the external bases. If they reach the TC, they can replace it and gain control over a third of the base. To prevent this, you can optionally build external TCs to the external bases. However, to keep the footprint reasonable, we build them skywards. Start the build seen from the left of the external base. Place foundation steps going out from the inner existing steps. And 4 triangles. Upgrade the foundation steps and those 2 triangles to armored, this one to sheet, this one should stay twig. Build the entrance here and surround the rest with sheet metal walls. Fit in the sheet metal wall frames for extra stability. Now it's probably a good moment to suspend the build of the external TC towers and secure the compound. You'll need 15 high external stone walls, 5 for each side. Go to the external base and clip a high external wall a tiny bit into the tip of the triangle. Place it as close to the external TC building as you can. Then place a second high external as far inwards as you can. Now head over to the other external base and clip another high external wall a tiny bit into the turret compartment. It should be easy to reliably fill the remaining space with 2 more walls while leaving no gap. Now head back to the first external base and place barricades around and on top of it to prevent other players from laddering in. Once done on all 3 sides, you have a secure compound. Use the doors in the external bases to enter it. Note that you can use the turret compartments as alternative exits. Once you're ready to build the external TC towers, destroy the twig foundation. This will disconnect this building from the TC of the external base, so be quick and don't let it decay. Start building a tower. On each level, build 3 wall frames and a chute made out of 3 walls. This may require a bit of climbing and balancing, so bring a lot of ladders. Once the building privilege sign disappears, you're high enough. Build 2 floor tiles and surround them with walls. Add in 2 more wall frames for stability and place a double door towards the chute. This time we leave the ceiling on the other side open. Build another compartment on the next floor. The TC goes into the rear corner and will be secured by a garage door. If you want, you can also use this tower as a flanking base in case you get raided. To do that, climb on the top of the tower and surround it with slanted roofs. Then place sleeping bags and lockers wherever they fit. Since the roof will remain open, you might want to place shotgun traps guarding the chute on both levels. Now build this tower 3 times. Every of those 3 towers should contain a box with a bit of wood, stone, a building plan and a hammer. If you get raided and lose the TC of the external base to which this tower is connected, spawn inside the tower, grab those materials and slide down the chute. If you hug the wall, you should survive the fall without damage. Now place a foundation in this open spot and upgrade it to wood or stone. From that moment on, the whole side of this base will be upkept from the tower. Once things have settled down and you want to restore the TC in the external base, there are a few steps to take. If the towers prevent raiders from placing TCs, they'll prevent you as well. Thus, first climb onto the tower which is connected to the external base and destroy the TC there. Then replace the TC of the external base that got raided. Best have that done by a team member so that you're not without building privilege for too long. If you previously placed a foundation in the open spot of the external TC tower, you will first need to destroy it. For that reason, I recommend it not to upgrade it past stone. Once that is done, climb back onto the tower and replace the TC there. Your base is now again grief protected. If you decide to add roof access, pick out the floor tiles above the exits, which are left stone. Jump onto the roof and place a triangle onto the neighboring base part. This creates an excellent peak down, which we'll use for the exit. Place 3 doorways to match the strength of the ground floor entrance. I leave it up to you what else to do with the roof. At minimum, I would place triangles here to create more peak downs. An obvious way to extend the shooting floor would be to just surround the whole perimeter with windows. Please note that going further up than the 3rd floor might prevent you from placing and replacing the TCs in the external towers. Because I always design for efficiency, I tend to keep an eye on the upkeep. My rationale is that if your group usually accumulates excess material, it's straightforward for you to just upgrade building blocks to the next highest tier. One easy improvement is to upgrade all the outer walls to sheet metal. This will increase the cost of brute force rates to 20 rockets per main loot room. As I said earlier, another option is to upgrade the walls around the loot rooms, including the chutes, to armored. With a group this size, you might also have a reasonable chance to acquire armored doors early. I would use the first set of armored doors to increase the protection of the external TCs by using them for the outer doors. Together with upgrading the TC compartment walls to armored, this increases raid cost if raiders choose the wrong angle. And voila, that's the Trident done. Of course, there are tons of modifications that you can make, and I wholeheartedly encourage you to adapt the base to your needs. With a base that size, it's hard to figure out the perfect configuration for all little details. May the base bring you safely through the wipe. Until then, Evil Wurst out.